I asked on my Instagram to ask me questions about journaling, about my journal, any questions you have, because I get a lot of them and it's hard to just answer every single person. So I figured I would include this in so that you can just refer back to this video if you ever have any questions. Hopefully I get to all of them. If I don't, ask me below and I will try to answer the best I can. The top question that I get asked is, where do you get your pictures, your scraps? What magazines do you use for pictures, and so on. So I've kind of talked about this in my guide to art journaling video that I'll put up here in case you missed it. But basically I find my pictures from thrifted books or antique books, magazines, and unsplash.com if I am printing something. The only exception that I have to the printing from unsplash.com is if I'm printing like a celebrity picture, like I did a Harry Styles spread. So I just looked on Pinterest for pictures, like a photo shoot of Harry Styles, and I printed from there. But other than that, that is where I get my pictures. So I'm going to show you some of my books, show you what I look for when it comes to antiquing for books. Obviously we can't necessarily do that right now because of the coronavirus, but once it is all over, maybe you can use these tips to find your own books. Just wanted to mention that I do run a Patreon for printable journaling kits, so anything that is in these books that I use for my own journal, I will scan into my Patreon and you can print it out for very cheap. I don't want to like plug my own Patreon too hard, but I think it's a good resource if you don't have access to books and you do have a printer, because I'm only charging $1, $3, or $5, $3 at the most, to get the actual journaling extra resources, and it's a lot of resources, so you don't have to buy your own books, you can just print. But obviously I understand if you don't have a printer or you want to buy your own stuff, so I do want to tell you where I get my stuff from. So the first place I get my stuff from is from thrift stores. So basically I will look for books that are bigger. Obviously picture books, you're not going to want to look in like the fiction section or whatever. When I'm looking, I will look for bigger, like thicker books and make sure they're picture books, and then I look for a certain type of book. So the first type of book I look for is like historical books with a lot of like vintage pictures. So like this one is Legends. It's such a beautiful book that I haven't even used it yet, but it just has like a lot of pictures of women who have changed the world, obviously. So there's Audrey Hepburn and Helen Keller, Marilyn Monroe, so there's a lot of good pictures in here. Jackie Kennedy, there's just a lot of good stuff in there. So I will look for like historical books like that. Another one that I have is, sorry, oh gosh, all my stuff is falling, is this Life, Our Century and Pictures book. Again, it has a ton of good like vintage pictures, so look for those type of books. They also have a lot of like National Geographic type books. There's just like a ton of pictures in here. I just wanted to mention that people like in my last guide to art journaling video got like very upset, like, I can't believe you cut into that book or whatever, like this is a book lover's nightmare. These books are from thrift stores. If you want to go to your thrift store and get a book and not cut it, then go for it, but I can cut it if I want to, so I don't want to be like rude, but I also want to say that I bought it, so I can do what I want with it. Another thing that I will look for type of book is like style books. So I have this one, and then a lot of, I don't have them in my studio right now, but I have a lot of Bobbi Brown beauty books, so those are really good for just having like style pictures. This one has just like a bunch of pictures that I would use. I know I keep saying like the same thing. It just has a bunch of really nice pictures, so I will cut those out, use those sometimes. So the first one is like historic books with a lot of vintage pictures. Another one is style books, and then the third one is flower or gardening books. So this one is Flowers in Color. It just has a bunch of pictures of flowers that will be so nice to journal with. So, and then lastly, when thrifting, I look for like hymn books or like music books, because these have the pages with the music notes on them, which are really great for scraps. Like you can see the music note page right here. Another thing I wanted to mention is that like with the style books, yeah, there's a lot of good pictures, but there's also text. I would probably cut out just like this right here to use for layering. So any type of text from any book will work, or magazine. And that brings me to my second point. For magazines, I will use Vogue. So I have a lot of Vogue magazines. I've thrifted a bunch of old ones, which was like a really good find, but I also have the newer ones. Oh, let me cover my address because I have a subscription to Vogue. I use Cosmopolitan, and then I also use Elle. Like these type of like campaigns are really good to cut out. So like picture Sophia Richie, which is really good. And then finally, antiquing is a huge thing. I antique all the time. My favorite antique store has the best stuff for journaling, or just in general, just has the best stuff. So my personal antique store, you might have to look around to find one that you really like. National Geographic's from the antique store. This one's from 1960. Lots of good pictures to use. Again, I use the writing, so I would just tear this page out to layer with. I find old newspapers from antique stores to use. Oh my gosh, I just realized that this was in the shot the whole time. Again, I'll look for like gardening books because they'll usually have drawings and sketches of flowers that are really cute. So I'll use that. And then finally, I look for little books. So the little books are usually like either poetry books or just like books of quotes or stuff like that. So this one is called Voiceless Lips. Like it has the daisy. So again, a little like poetry book to a friend. It just has like little poems that are really cute and some nice drawings. These are like prints from Shakespeare's plays, and I really, really love them. I found these recently too, and I'll probably scan them in for my Patreon, but I'm not gonna cut them at all. I'm just gonna use them to hang. Oh, I've been talking for a while. I'll look for maps. So maps are really good for like scrap papers for layering. This one I've already scanned in a bunch. I'm not gonna open the whole thing. Like I said, little like poetry books like this. Yeah, that is where I get my pictures. Next question that I get asked a lot is what type of adhesive do I use for my journal? My all-time favorite is the crafter's tape. It can be any type just because it's so easy to, so it's so much easier than glue just because you just push down and then you have a line of tape there that's really sticky. So that's my all-time favorite because number one, it's way quicker. The second thing that I like is just double-sided tape. Again, it's way easier than glue. It's way less messy. It doesn't make the pages really crinkly. And if I run out of that, my last option is a glue stick. So try not to use glue that much personally, but you can if you like it. And then I will show you some of my main supplies right now because I get asked a lot about supplies. Okay, so these are my main supplies. I have a Sharpie. These are Jelly Roll pens. I get asked about the white one a lot. It's the best white pen that I've found. I don't know, I haven't tried all of them, so maybe something's better, but I really like the Jelly Roll. I use the black too, but sometimes I just use the Uniball Signo pens. I'll use those sometimes. I use an X-Acto knife if I need to cut out small things. This is the Fiskars circle cutter. Get asked about that a lot. And then label maker, I'll link it down below. It makes labels like this. And then I get asked about my paints a lot. So these are the paints that I use. They are the Craftsmart brand, or sometimes I use the Apple Barrel too. I ran out of some of those, but they are really cheap. They're acrylic paints and I got them from Walmart. And then sometimes I use the Reeves acrylic paint too. If I need to mix like a certain color, I'll use those. But I use masking tape for my journal a lot, and then I also use these washi tapes. I don't have a huge collection, I just have these, but they're all from DHgate. They're super cheap. I would recommend ordering from there and not from like a stationery company because a lot of people do drop shipping where they buy them off DHgate and then sell them way higher. So I just buy them straight from DHgate and they work just fine for me. So they take a long time to get in the mail, but if you are patient, then I would recommend doing that over a stationery company. So those are my main supplies along with the paints, the acrylic paints that I use. So I will link everything down in the description for you to use or to buy if you want to buy them. Next question that I got a lot was, what do you use to film? So I am going to show you in a second, but I use this overhead tripod for your phone. I film on my iPhone. I have an iPhone 10, I think. and this just connects to the desk. I'll show you in a second, and you can twist it to however you need it to be, and you just put your phone in here, and that's that. I will link it down below. I think I'm gonna make a Amazon link storefront so that just in case you need to go back and buy some of the stuff that I'm telling you that I use, the sun is coming in, then you can go buy it from my Amazon. I use the app Splice. I'll put it right here. So I think it costs like $2 or $3. I can't remember, a week or something like that. I don't know. You can speed up the video. You can just cut stuff out, and I just edit it. It takes me probably like maybe 10 minutes to edit a video. Another question I get asked is, how long does it take you to do like one journal spread, this entire thing? Basically, my process is find any pictures I want, print them out or cut them out from magazines or whatever I'm doing, and then I sit, and before I start filming, I rearrange everything where I want it to go. So that could take anywhere from like 5 minutes to like 25 minutes if it's not working the way I want it to. So I will rearrange it on my journal how I want it, and then I will film me like placing it down so that my filming isn't like 2 hours long of me trying to rearrange it, because I feel like that would just be a pain in the butt to edit. So I like to have an idea of what I'm doing first before I start, and then I will film it. And filming usually takes like maybe 15 minutes, so it's not a long process. The whole thing takes maybe like an hour and a half to do. So I try to journal every day, but sometimes I don't. I also got a lot of questions about what to do if I have like an art block. This is kind of a hard question to answer, but I do get like an art block pretty often where I'm like, I've journaled a bunch, I don't want to do the same thing, what should I do now? So I basically just, if I'm not feeling it that day, then I don't do it. And it usually helps to look at like inspiration on Pinterest or just people I follow on Instagram. I have a bunch of like people that inspire me. I also really like to look at like mood boards. So if you type in mood boards on Pinterest, you'll find a bunch of them, and those usually inspire me big time. I'm like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this. But there are times like where I start a spread and I'm not loving it and it just isn't working, and I just kind of hate it in the end, and I usually just finish it up and don't post it. There's gonna be times like that. Another big question is what type of journal I use. This journal that I just showed you in the flip through is from Amazon. I think it's like, I honestly can't pronounce the brand, I'm not even gonna try, but it's like a dot journal, so it has the dots already in it. I would not recommend it. It's for the type of journaling I do. If you use any type of glue, the pages get very, very crinkly, which is why I started using the crafter's tape, the like tape runner. But wasn't my favorite journal ever. I thought I wanted to switch it up and have the dots in it, but I probably won't get it again. So that is the one I use. I'll link it below. It's just like a dot journal. It comes, I think it's $13 for 2 of them. It comes in a 2-pack. And then for my last journal and most of the journals before that, I used a Moleskine art sketchbook, and it is by far the best journal I've used, just because since it is like an art sketchbook, the pages are really thick. They're way thicker than the last one that I used, so using glue in this one was like a whole different experience. So I would recommend the Moleskine art sketchbook over the one I'm using right now, but I'll still link the one I'm using right now just in case you want it. But my next journal that I'm going to get is definitely a Moleskine again. Another question that I get asked pretty often is what presets do you use on your photos of your journals? They are from Etsy, and I think they're $4.18 or something like that right now. I use Lightroom, the mobile Lightroom, so it's on my phone. You don't have to pay for it. You just pay for the presets and you add them into Lightroom. So I think they're the light and airy. I'll post a picture of what they look like right here, but I'll also post a link down below so that you can get them. Those are the presets I use for my pictures. Really cheap. You can just download Lightroom mobile on your phone and just pay for the presets. A lot of people ask, like, how do you decide which pictures to put together or papers? That's something that I think I need to make a separate video for, because it's honestly a process. Like, I don't know if I could explain it just sitting here, so I will work on making a video of like a journal with me so that you can see how I do the process. I'll do another journal with me soon, but I can't necessarily answer that right now. The biggest thing when it comes to choosing pictures of papers I just choose pictures that seem to be cohesive together, like a theme. Some people asked about how to grow like your journaling account. So I think I started in around 2017 and I journaled. This was when I had started journaling, or I was kind of deep into it. And I actually stopped journaling for 2 years. I met my husband in 2017, so I'd stopped journaling around then because I got back into school and I was just doing other stuff, and it just wasn't something that I was interested in at the time, and I thought I wanted to journal again. But so I stopped that account, and I think I had 11,000 followers at that time, and I really just used a bunch of hashtags, and I had like 25,000 followers on Tumblr, so I guess people came over from there. But my biggest tip is use hashtags, tag bigger accounts so that maybe your art will get featured on theirs. Do videos. Videos are like way more engaging than pictures, and be consistent. So consistency is huge. Like when I'm consistent, I grow way faster than when I do like one journal a week or something like that. So I know people don't always have time, but consistency is huge. You might not grow really fast, but you will have a steady growth if you stay consistent with it. So yeah, I stopped using that account. I had 11,000 followers, and then this past September in 2019, which was like 2 years later from when I started it and stopped using it, I came back to it because I wanted to start journaling again, and I wanted to just post my journals again. So I came back to my account, and I'm sure people forgot that they followed me or whatever, weren't interested. So I actually lost around 2,000 followers. So I was sitting at like 9,000, and that was in September, and now it is end of April and I have almost 300,000 followers on there. So my biggest tip is post videos, stay consistent, hashtag and tag bigger journaling accounts. Honestly, don't worry about numbers. I really try not to even look at the numbers because my main reason for posting my spreads in the process is to hopefully inspire other people. Journaling helps my mental health so much. I would like for others to find that if that's something they're interested in, to help their mental health as well. Some people also ask me, I want to start an art journal, what do I do with it? Like, what's the reason? And there doesn't have to be one. You can just start one because you like it, because you want to have a place to just put down things that inspire you and write quotes that inspire you, and just look back. If you want to write little excerpts or write little things, you can just track your growth over time. Like I know I used to write a lot more in my journals, and I have those to look back at of times where I was really struggling, and now I look at it and I'm like, wow, look how far I've come, you know? So that's pretty much it. I know I probably didn't get near all the questions, but I think the main one was, where do you get your supplies? So hopefully I answered that well. Reminder that I do have a Patreon, so if you can't go out right now but you have a printer, I'm still posting a lot of aesthetic photos, vintage photos, paper, scraps, words, all type of stuff that you can print out. If you can't go out and buy this stuff right now, you can always cancel later on. But if you want to get into journaling, if you're new to journaling, it's just a place where you can go to the Word document. I provide it in Word documents or PDFs depending on how you want to open it. You can have a whole place and just print out pictures that you like, and you don't have to worry about searching for them if you don't know how to find them. So that's why I run my Patreon. Obviously you can find photos yourself without having to pay for my Patreon, or if you don't have a printer, that's totally fine. Like, I by no means am saying that you have to have my Patreon to have a good pictures or good spread or whatever. You can go find books yourself, whatever works best for you. But just a reminder that I do run a Patreon in case you wanted to check it out. I will link it down below as well. I have a bunch of links that I need to put down below, so hopefully I don't forget. But if you have any other questions about journaling, about me or my journal, about supplies, go ahead and ask them down below if I missed them. I'm going to try to answer all the comments. I know I've been bad about that, but I'm going to try this time and answer your questions in case I missed any. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. Subscribe if you want more journaling content. I have a bunch of videos that I have planned, and my new filming day is on Wednesdays, so I will have one video up a week for sure. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.